Is that her? No.
There, well, I have that.
There we go. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Perfect.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the this version of the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting here for January 19th. Happy New Year to everybody. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order here in just a second, as soon as we get everybody situated.
Yeah.
Get comfortable. Hi, how are you?
Yep. We'll introduce ourselves in a minute.
All right, so now the meeting is, I'll call the meeting to order. If we can all just go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Aren't you going to lead us in prayer?
Not today. We're going to start something new. All right, thank you very much. Next item on the list here real quick is just for anybody up here on the panel to see if there's any conflict of interest that anybody can think of from any of the items that are on our agenda for today. No? Hearing none? Okay, so we'll go ahead and go on to the next. Approval of the meeting, the minutes from a while back, October 20th, 2021.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from October.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none? Okay, all in favor of passing the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion passed. Okay, did we
Can I
want to?
get one matter real quick?
Sure.
Maybe we could all just kind of introduce ourselves. We have our newest member attending today, Kim Miller. So we appreciate you joining on board and helping us out. I'm Steve Sokolowski with the Planning Department. I don't know, Janet, if you want to.
I'm Janet Dolman with City Development.
Jeff Lutzke, Building Inspector.
Give us your name, Don. Introduce yourself.
Sorry, what?
Introduce yourself. Throw your name out there. Let the people know who you are.
Don, can you introduce yourself?
Can you introduce
Kim?
yourself?
My name is Steve Sokolowski and I'm from South Milwaukee.
Oh, boy.
That's Don
Go
Gerber.
back down because it's a lot warmer down there.
All right. He's our comedian, local comedian. My name's Kevin Sampson.
Keely Johnson.
Ed Sir, Richard Lindy.
Kimberly Miller.
Welcome
Thank you.
aboard.
Welcome. All right, thank you very much. Okay, so we got a few items on the agenda today, so we'll just jump right into it. So we have 3.1. We have a variance application by Emma Prawl requesting to pave or asphalt her driveway. Current driveway is a concrete runner type of driveway with grass between the tire lanes. Currently has 9 feet from the house to side lot line at 1607 North 5th Street. Ms. Prawl, if you want to step up. Also, do we have, while she's stepping up there, do we have anybody that's here to speak on this topic? No? Okay, thank you. Ms. Prawl, what do we have? What can we help you with here today?
Excuse me?
What are you here for today?
I'm here to get my driveway blacktop,
Okay,
and I guess the problem is that there's supposed to be a 10-foot width, and I only have 9 to my
Okay.
neighbor's house, to the south of me, but he's not objecting to it or anything, so I just need a variance.
okay. Steve?
Yeah, I
anything
think,
to add from
I think if you can kind of take a look at the screens before you can kind of see the two runners that she has, and she's looking to pave that area to get to that back garage portion. So that's the area she's looking to pave. The other items involved in this, let's see, is just that if you take a look at the screen right now, her lot is lot 18 over here, and you can see that the garage extends 5 inches into the neighbor's lot. So it's going to be, it's important that the paving obviously stays on your property
Right.
and doesn't encroach into that. So working with the building inspection department, we're going to need to make sure that your contractor or whomever
Right,
paves just that section.
okay.
So staff did, you have the runners there, and they're looking to do some improvements, so there is no objections.
I have one, there's the driveway, plus then there's to the north of the driveway, we're gonna blacktop that, and then next to the garage. But that all should be enough to, we have enough clearance for all that.
When you say to the north of the driveway, are you speaking about towards the home?
What's behind the house
Okay,
for a parking pad?
okay, kind of this red area
Yeah.
in
Right.
here.
And then it's gonna be fully paved, correct?
Right,
Not-
yep, exactly.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve in a second. Do we have any discussion?
The only thing, and we can take care of this, the only thing we could want to do, and we can take care of this at building inspection, is just make sure that it drains obviously towards the house and that they provide the documentation with regards to the property line.
Okay, Dick?
Kimberly has a.
Oh, okay, Kimberly, yes.
Would you be able to press your microphone?
Yep.
Oh, there you go, all set.
Okay, thank you. So you said your neighbor is fine with this variance. Do we need anything further than that?
No, unless they wrote a letter or
Right.
showed up today, no.
Perfect, thank you.
All right. Any further discussion?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
A suggestion that the building inspector might, when he signs the building permit, might want to ask that the blacktop stay at least 6 inches away from the property line in case someone ever wants to put a fence in there.
So if we'd want to do that, what we'd want to do is amend the motion. And you could, if the board would want to do that, you would amend your motion to include a condition that the pavement would go no closer than 6 inches to the south property line.
Correct, that's my motion.
So I could amend my motion
Right.
Okay.
To
to
include
say
that.
that. So I amend my motion to state that the driveway is 6 inches off of the lot line for further improvement.
Okay,
And a second.
okay, there we go. All right. I think that should be okay, right? I mean, I don't, that
yeah.
should still fit within the plans.
So from that perspective, all they're indicating is instead of being able to go all the way to the lot line, you're gonna have to stay 6 inches from the lot line, from the
Shouldn't be a problem because the garage door is here, then you've got about this much space.
before the door.
Yeah, before the
Yeah,
property.
sounds good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we got the motion and this, the amended motion and second. No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion passed. So, yeah, so.
I'm good?
Yes, ma'am.
All
You
right,
ju-
thank
you just work with the building inspection or your contractor and work with building inspector Jeff Lutzke over there.
When he gets that far?
That's
Okay,
correct.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, up next, 3.2, we have a variance application by Robert Butcher requesting to build a new 8-foot deep covered porch to match the width of the house with a stairway that projects towards the front property line at 320 Ontario Avenue. Mr. Butcher, welcome back, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for taking your time again. I was approved the variance on May 19th, 2021 to install a porch at 320 Ontario Avenue. At that time, there was a sketch of the porch showing a horizontal cable railing. I had to take that sketch and turn it into a drawing. Upon talking with John Washako, residential designer at Drexel Building Supply, John recommends going with the vertical metal rails, keeping it true to the residential neighborhood. I talked to Jeff about the changes, and he said that I would have to take it to the zoning board of appeals for necessary changes, so that's why I'm here. I'm asking to change from horizontal cable railing to vertical railing per the drawings.
Oh,
Yep, those are the drawings that I got. Yep, those.
are you able to complete this in the allotted time, 6 months usually we
Yes.
give you?
Yep,
Okay.
no, it's gonna be done.
Okay, yep, Steve, go ahead.
There were a couple of letters received, as people may remember, there were a couple of people that objected last time. there was a letter from a Pat Kevin indicating they would be unable to meet today. They did object to the porch at the address. It'll interview with the view of the lake. So that again was with regards to the home that's
Yep,
over
they're right
here.
there, yep.
Yeah.
That's her view from her house.
Right. So what she's saying is that when Mr. Butcher had put his, that would take some of that away. And then there was also.
But he's not doing a two-tiered porch. We didn't approve that.
No.
Great.
No, and then
So-
and then the neighbor to the east also, who came at the meeting last time, also submitted a letter indicating that he was objecting to the proposal as well.
Again, okay.
So-
But you're literally just changing the railing.
Right.
The view or the look of the railing instead of
Exactly.
going this way or
Right.
want to go this way.
Right, yep,
Which matches more with the neighborhood anyways.
yes.
Yeah, and so I think the big thing with this is we have a site plan that was done and we have the 8 foot, but we really, we're kind of changing the roof line. We're making some changes. I don't know how that affects the steps. So I think one of the things we might want to do is just make sure that there's a survey or something done that shows that the deck is indeed meeting these requirements, because right now, we don't know that information. So when the applicant comes in, we'd suggest that the survey be done to show exactly where the steps and decks are, so that it is indeed 8 feet and 7 feet like it's shown here.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you. Steve, anything else? No?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion approved. Do we have a second?
We already approved.
I'll second.
Okay, well, we do have a second motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? Yeah, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, hearing none. Chair votes aye. Motion has passed again.
Okay, thank you very much.
Very good, thank you.
Did a good job, Bob. It looks great.
Make sure you get it done this time.
Yeah, it'll look good. All right, perfect, thank you. Okay, next item here, we have 3.3 variance application by Joseph Block requesting approval for an already constructed 4 feet deep by 14 foot wide front deck with a stairway that projects towards the front property line located at 3011 North 26th Street. Mr. Block, welcome.
Hello.
Do we have anybody here that's going to speak on this topic? No? Okay, perfect. All right, Mr. Block, tell us what you're here for.
I'd like to keep my deck, please.
All right. Steve?
I would imagine you'd want to add a little bit more as to how we got to this.
Yes. I built a small 4 foot by 14 wide deck in the front of my property to bridge over an already existing concrete stoop that was sinking into the ground and didn't look very appealing. So I thought there'd be no harm in constructing something that would just go over to replace it that was roughly the same depth. The only reason I stretched the width to 14 feet was it fit the look of the house better and encapsulated one of the front bedroom windows. My argument for this is that without a variance, I was told that I would be allowed to have a 4 foot by 4 foot platform on the front of my deck without a variance. This structure being 4 feet deep and 14 wide is the same distance from any public right-of-way, sidewalk, street, you name it, that a legal one would be. So basically what I'm asking for is a variance to allow the width to be 14 feet. I'd like to mention that I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. I design and measure things for a living, so I tried to put together a pretty comprehensive proposal to make a very simple matter, in my opinion, even simpler.
We appreciate your effort.
Yeah.
I think the only comments I would make is whether or not the board feels that I don't know if Mr. Block was intending on doing any type of staining with the white and the greens that he has compared to just the treated wood that would go better in terms of this being such a street frontage and that it is closer, than what we're allowed here. A lot of times with these decks and things like that in these front yards, we've tended to try to have a little bit more compatible with the home itself. So I don't know if you had any comments that way.
What you see in those pictures was a work in progress until we hit the snag. I didn't want to go any further until we resolved this. In
Yeah.
worst case scenario, I had to tear it down. I didn't want to invest any more money or time into it.
Understandable.
I'd also like to point out that I was told that maybe the possibility of not having a variance would be there if I was matching the look of my neighborhood, that if 60% of the homes on my face of my block had a deck that is as close or closer, I would be able to forego this variance. I measured every home with a deck on my face of my block. There are 4 homes with a deck as close or closer than mine, which works out to 57%, not 60.
And some of those that he's talking about, you know, there are some when you look across the way, and there are some that do have some front porches, you know, in that area, so.
So you're
I
gonna
would-
paint this deck?
I will if need be. I'd rather stain it, but I can treat it in some way.
Okay, so it's not to keep it in that raw state of material, is what we're asking, I guess.
Correct.
And I don't know if anyone has any comments on that, if staining it is fine, if you want it painted or whatever, I'm okay, I just would prefer if we had something a little better than
Something needs
treated.
to be finished.
So stain, are you looking at more of, I mean, what are your thoughts on the stain, if that was the case?
I'm all right with stain. I'd also like to mention that I was considering putting a bush on either side and mulching around it to, you can see in the picture, there's a gap between the decorative skirt and the ground. That would
Okay.
be completely filled with mulch as well.
Okay. What color stain? Dark, light,
Well, my neighbor across the street has quite a dark stain.
which
maybe-
matches their house?
Yes, they have a brick house. I have a white house, maybe somewhere in between, lighter.
Okay,
I make a motion that we approve with the condition that deck be stained an appropriate color for the neighborhood.
Second.
okay, all right, so we have a motion to approve, pending a nice suitable stain for the porch, and we have a second. Do we have any further
paint,
discussion?
I could say.
Or
You could
paint,
say
but
stain
stain or
or
paint,
paint.
yeah,
Yeah.
either way. We're just looking to get rid of that, just that plain raw wood look.
Sure.
Is really what we're shooting for. Do we have any further discussion?
Question.
All right, hearing none. Do I- Yes,
Oh, are you calling the question, is that what you're saying?
yes. that's what
Okay,
it is.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion to approve in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you very much.
I would like to ask what the next step would be after this, the staining and, or who do
What I would end up doing is, Jeff, if you wouldn't mind just having a conversation with Jeff tomorrow or whenever that occurs.
Okay, phone call, email? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a few other items here coming up. 3.4 is for Sign Me Up of Wisconsin LLC as appealing a zoning administrator decision concerning installation of a new billboard on parcel number 5928150165, located approximately at North 13th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. Can we take the next three kind of together? Or do we have to take
We
each?
might, for sure, we can do the one, I know there's a neighbor here for one of them. But one of the things I'd like to do just before we start is just explain to the
Yeah.
board, we typically haven't had a lot of the appeals come to you. But one of the things that happens is an applicant can submit an application to the development department. If it gets denied or isn't approved, they have an opportunity to appeal that decision to the Board of Appeals. And that's what Sign Me Up and Mr. Kramer are doing in this particular case, is to have the board review a decision that was made by staff in order to see if they can reinstall the billboards that were at these sites previously. And so they'll have an opportunity to speak to you. I know Mr. Lakin's here. He, I think, may want to speak on the 13th Street side. So the applicant certainly has the opportunity to go through. They've put together quite a bit of a packet. Staff wasn't going to be objecting to the applicant's request, but they certainly have the opportunity to step up and speak and inform the board what they're after.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Paul Rademacher with Sign Me Up Wisconsin. I'm joined here by Mark Kramer and my business partner, Brian Dunton. And we'll get to them a little bit later. Thank you, board members, for taking up our consideration today of these items. I'm going to go back and forth between the brief that I submitted to you as well as the ordinance. Does everybody have a copy of that, or have seen that?
I can get that on there for you.
Okay, so, just as a background, 3 off-premise billboard advertising sign structures were recently removed in the city of Sheboygan by Lamar Outdoor Advertising Company. These 3 sign structures were located on properties and easements owned by Mark Kramer and were removed without his knowledge. Mr. Kramer has entered into a lease agreement with Sign Me Up Wisconsin, of whom I am a part of, to apply for the replacement sign permits needed to rebuild the sign structures at properties located at Pennsylvania and 13th Street North roughly, 18th Street in Superior, and then also 1723 Indiana Avenue. The sign permit applications to replace the original or remove signs were denied by the city of Sheboygan. I am appealing the decision of the zoning administrator to deny the sign permit applications because its interpretation of the zoning code with respect to off-premise advertising signs is arbitrary and capricious. It's unusual to have a billboard issue before you, because quite frankly, it's unusual that a billboard structure comes down. And talking to some people, this may never have happened before here, that to have this in the city of Sheboygan as far as an appeal. Lamar is a multi-billion-dollar company and holds a monopoly in the city of Sheboygan with respect to outdoor advertising industry. Apparently, they just decided to remove these structures for no reason. Typically, if a sign were to come down, it is removed by the sign company on their own property, or when a lease expires and there's not an agreement to continue on with the sign. It's unusual we don't know why the signs came down. It's unusual we don't know when the signs came down or when they were totally removed from the property. So when these signs were removed, I find that it was unusual for the city of Sheboygan to ignore their own sign ordinance. None of the criteria of section 15.810 of the city's sign ordinance was followed, and that's why we're here today. This is an ordinance that was approved by the city council and went into effect in August of 1996. And I want to start off with a little history of that ordinance, and for that, we're lucky to have Mark Kramer, who not only is a property owner of these locations, but also was an integral part of that revision of the ordinance back in 1996. Mr. Kramer was a business owner of Kramer Outdoor from 1978 to 1998, and he was very involved in the city of Sheboygan community, including being part of the Downtown Rotary. He actually was a chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals for a few years. He was an accomplished scuba diver, and he donated the anchor, which is now exists at the end of Sheboygan, South Pier Drive, from his discovery of the 1890 schooner, the Hattie Taylor. As I said, he's a property owner of the applications before you. He lives in Florida, and it's the first time he's been in Sheboygan in 3 years. Mark will talk to you about forming of the section 15.810 of the city of Sheboygan sign ordinance, and I ask that you come up now to talk about that. Can you make it up there, old timer?
I'm not sure I can stand very long.
You were a lot younger the last time.
I'm gonna get a new knee next month, Don. Good afternoon, zoning board. It's really good to be back in Sheboygan, even if it is a little brisk. I've been running into some warm, familiar faces and seeing some old friends, and that kind of offsets that chilly weather and that briskness. So, I came to Sheboygan in April 1978. I was working for Flynn Outdoor Advertising in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Flynn bought out George and Helen Clausen, they were running Kemp Clausen Outdoor Advertising. So I came out here to run the company, the billboard company, from 1978 till 85, and then Flynn sold me the company and I changed the name to Kramer Outdoor Advertising. So I owned the company and ran the company until 1998, when I sold the company to Delight out of Edina, Minnesota in 1998. And Delight in turn sold the billboard company to Lamar out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So that's how I came to be in Sheboygan, and I lived here for 22 years. I've since moved away. I've moved to Florida, but I have roots here, and I have many properties in Sheboygan and the surrounding areas, and I'm still, I consider myself a part of this community, even though my residence is not in Sheboygan or in this state. Back in 1996, Richard Schneider was the mayor, Bob Peterson was the head of the planning department, and Arnie Grotbeck was his assistant. And Mr. Peterson at the time decided it was time to reform and redo the comprehensive zoning ordinance that the city of Sheboygan had. The one that was present, or the older one, was really very, very much out of date, and it really needed it. So he formulated a new zoning ordinance, and I would like to just address the off-premise part of it, because that's where it really affected me, because that was my business. We were doing off-premise signs. So his first draft and original off-premise part of that zoning ordinance would have probably effectively put me out of business in 10 years or a few years thereafter. So, of course, I was distressed at this, because, you know, there's some billboards, you lose a lease and they have to be moved, traffic changes, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing is really completely static. So at that time, I took a look at the number of billboards that I had in the city of Sheboygan. I counted them up, and then I counted the number of boards. This was in 1996. I counted the number of boards that I had in 1978 when I first came here, and the numbers were virtually the same. So I think what Mr. Peterson was afraid of was the over-proliferation of billboards in the city. And of course, I didn't want that. The number of the billboards that I had at the time were fine, because I had about the same number in 1978. So I came up with the cap ordinance. I proposed the cap ordinance in order to preserve my business and allow my business to continue into the future. So, and the cap ordinance is in the basic form. It's if you take one down, you can put one up, and it's that simple. So I proposed the ordinance, and Mr. Peterson drafted it into the current zoning ordinance that we have. It went to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission approved it. Off to the council. The Common Council approved it. Mayor Richard Schneider approved it, and that's what we're looking at now, is that part of the zoning ordinance. So, oh, gee. Yeah, can you? Yeah. So, as property owner, I own two of those sites, and on one of the sites I have a perpetual easement for billboards, off-premise advertising. So I'm here to ask for the variance so that I can put those signs back up that were there, that were taken down.
I guess my question, do we know why they were taken down? Is there any reason as to why?
Lamar didn't want them anymore.
That was all.
They just didn't want them. You know, it's a big corporation. Lamar is the largest publicly traded billboard company in the country.
Sure.
You know, why do corporations do anything? I've worked for a big corporation, and I prefer to work for a small business. It's just a lot easier. So when a big corporation does something, you may never know why or who says do this. It comes from somewhere. Who knows, on the top? So I wish I really knew, but it doesn't make any difference. So, you know, I toured them yesterday at the sites, and this is the first time that I've been up here because of my health. And of course the boards are gone. When they came down, I really don't know. But I did not receive any notice from the city that the signs were removed or were coming down. The big thing in the ordinance that Mr. Peterson allowed was that all the sites that I had in 1996 were allowed to be conforming sites. So all those sites, I still have all those sites, and they're all conforming. And these 3 sites are all conforming as well. That's the big key to this issue. So they're all legal conforming locations. I guess that's really about all that I have to say. The properties themselves are, they're smaller and, you know, many of the pieces that I own are smaller pieces that aren't really usable by anybody else for any other purpose. And they're all in areas that are properly zoned and for business or industry. So anyway, I would like to ask the board respectfully to allow this variance so that I can continue to use these sites, these conforming sites. Anybody has any questions for me? I'd be happy to answer any.
We do actually have a question.
Sure. Thank you for your explanation. Approximately when did these signs disappear?
I don't know.
No, truly, you don't know? But
I really
was
don't
it like
know.
in 1998, or was it a New Year's Eve this year?
Could I
Nobody knows?
answer? It was probably somewhere, you know, that's somewhat of a question. There isn't a date specific, but these were probably around 20.
Okay.
It was sometime in 20. Whether it was 12 months, 18, it was somewhere in that range. A lot of the Google Maps and the pictures that I show you still show them up. So as I was saying, this was one of the items where I had dealt with Sign Me Up. They brought some information in. We kind of went back and forth on each's positions, but staff is not objecting to the proposal. I know there is a neighbor here to one of the items too that may have some things he'd like to add.
Sure. Okay.
Again, so I'm not sure what it's called. Are they called standards?
They're part of, the signs that were there were part of the standard outdoor advertising industry.
No, I'm sorry, the posts that go into the ground, are those gone completely to the ground?
Everything's gone except on
The concrete that it's
except
sunken into?
1723 Indiana Avenue. There is still decking and some support steel there. Why it's there, I have no idea. But the
So
other
if you get
other
the-
2 sites are completely vacant.
Okay, so if you get these back, then are you putting those back as a better product than they were originally?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
If you go to replace these, are you putting them back as a better product than they were originally?
Another product, what would you mean by
A better product?
Could I comment real quick? I think, Paul, if you wanted to mention, maybe you could talk about how there were maybe 2 posts compared to the 1 post and what the new signs are going
There we
to
go.
look like.
I'll defer
That's what you're
I'll
asking.
defer
Yes.
this to
Yep.
Paul because he, you know, I've been gone from the business for 23 years and, you know, I still lease and I still want to lease these sites and that's why I'm here.
So a lot of the ones that I've shown them from the previous pictures show like the 2 posts and things like that. So maybe you could just kind of explain the spec that you're putting those up to.
Yeah, that's correct. And to answer your question, I would say that, yeah, they are a better product because instead of having 2 posts for each sign structure, they'll be on a single pole or a monopole. And so we'll have a cleaner look to them. And so to me, it's a better product of LED lights versus, you know, fluorescent essentially lights. So it'll have a cleaner look overall. The sign structure will. Or
Thank you.
structures will.
Same size, correct?
Same size, that is correct. 12 foot by 24 foot.
Okay.
And they'll also be in more of a V formation versus the ones that were up before were back to back. Except for the one at 1723 Indiana will be back to back because of the property there, or the width of the property. But the other structures will have a V shape to them.
And these are not digital signs?
No.
Okay.
You should hear from that neighbor.
Yep. So, okay, so we do have a gentleman here that's got a question or comment or concerns or something regarding one or all of these, so. Mr. Lakin, if you'd like to step up.
I'm Tom Lake, and I actually own the parcel over on Penn Avenue. Mark Kramer and myself came up with an agreement and a line of sight easement. So I'm here to make sure that things stay either the same or get improved, but stay within the parameters that we first talked about and agreed upon. So I guess I'd like to be a part of the process.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, and I would assume, sign me up, and Mark, talking a little bit with Mr. Lakin on that, you can kind of see, Mr. Lakin has, brought hygienics, and done a building addition 3 years ago now? How long is, longer? I can't,
A little longer. I think we actually occupied it in 17, was on the board in 15, and took a couple years to construct.
so there was a little bit of a difference, you know, where the building was set back, where it's out now, and
Yeah.
so, you know, a lot of the setbacks and stuff, they have to at least be 12 feet setback from the property, so I don't know if there's some conversation that you could have, you know, with regards to that, but, anyways.
Yeah, one more thing, I am actually looking to add on to the building there too. We do have 3 sites in Sheboygan. We're gonna try to make a U-shape there, so we are working with an architect. That also has to fit into the new sign if it does go back up. So we do have a line of sight agreement, and I'm not too sure how a V1 would actually work or not work.
It would actually be better for your line of sight.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to just tell the board how the business that Mr. Lakin and I have transpired. So Mr. Lakin wanted to buy my lot, and I said, yeah, you could, and he wants it for expansion. It ran all the way back to, I don't know, the railroad tracks, maybe 100, 150 feet deep, whatever the original plat was. So I said, yeah, yes, I will sell you the land, but I want a perpetual easement to have a off-premise advertising structure on the property, and I want an easement of line of sight across your lots. So we have a perpetual easement that is approved by both of us that spells out all the provisions so that anything, I mean, for anything that's built, it has to be built according to the requirements in the perpetual easements that we both signed. So, and Mr. Lakin and I have worked together in the past, and I have no problem working with Mr. Lakin again in the future. And nothing will get built there unless it's in agreement with the legal documents that we've signed. Okay?
Okay.
So, Mr. Sokolowski, have you said that you're now in agreement with our applications?
I didn't say I'm in agreement, I said I'm agree with some of the things you mentioned, but not totally with everything, and I'm not objecting to the request that's being made today. We still have things that I think I don't agree with.
Okay, I guess I'm confused if you're,
I mean, we can have that conversation if you like, or we could get to maybe a motion.
well, I mean, are you supporting?
I'm not objecting to
You're
the
not
request.
objecting. Okay. There's a question.
Okay, yep. Dick, go ahead.
As a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals, for every other project we look at, we see drawings of what it's going to look like when it's done. How come we can't see anything here?
I believe I submitted a drawing with the original building permit application, which I believe you should have.
No, I don't want to see a paper of documents. I want to see a picture of what the sign is going to look like.
Okay. Well, I don't have that with me today.
Let's see if I might have. Hang on a second, I think I have your original request. So I guess what I could do is just show everyone. In this case, I'm gonna show what you had submitted to me earlier on.
Yeah.
So that was the 2 on Indiana. So it's basically kind of the same with the single pulse. So that's that one. So this is basically it. And this is what it was.
Okay, so it's up pretty high.
Yeah. And then the others, when you look at these, are basically the same except a single post instead of the two that hold them up.
Gotcha.
So they're single posts.
So these
supported.
are approximately what we're gonna see.
Those are the old pictures of what were up. The difference, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that all of the double posts are being a monopole to hold them up, to have less structure.
Yes. I'm just looking at the sign face itself, that is
Same.
approximately what the
Oh, yeah,
size we're gonna see.
it's 280 square feet, I think,
288.
288, like,
12 by 24.
I can't remember the exact,
Okay,
12 foot
12 by
tall
24.
Yes, 12 by 24.
thank you.
Yep.
That was what I was after.
So I guess I do have a question then when we get, if we can. Just, I'm curious as to why they were denied, if this seems to work and everything, if we
Because-
vote today,
Yeah.
what does that, do they have to go back then?
They would, if they get approved today, they get the sign permits that I originally denied. Just like we have issues with non-conforming structures, their opinion on the non-conforming structure is a little bit different than mine. Once you take down some structures, they're claiming it's conforming, and that in the ordinance, those were approved as conforming signs. They took them down for a certain period of time. You can sometimes lose a non-conforming status. So the reason why I did that was I was questioning the status, and that's why they said, hey, there's not an exact date. We want this to go to the board to be heard, to have this discussion. And so, that's why we're here today.
Okay. All right.
But the ordinance is clear that these signs that were built before 1996 are lawful conforming signs. They're not a non-conforming use. And they're not a non-conforming.
Yeah, I think,
Well, if Paul, if we want to go there, I can go that way if you'd like.
The issue is that
Mr.
they were
Kramer, I don't think you want me to go
The
there.
issue is they were taken down
And
and,
they weren't taken down by you.
No.
So we understand
Yeah.
that, and that's why we're willing to work with you. But the
Thank
issue
you.
is, they were taken down,
they were taken down and.
so.
And, and going forward, because could happen again, is that the city, by the ordinance, needs to issue a wrecking permit or removal permit.
Sure.
And that wasn't done.
That's part of the discussion we'd have to have with the city attorney who does not agree with the statement.
Well, it says right here.
I understand that.
Okay.
That's the position. I'm telling you, the board, that the city attorney does not agree with you.
Does not agree.
But that's
Okay,
true.
well,
It
then
is-
we'll have a talk with the city attorney about that, but.
Well, that's fine.
The ordinance is clear that the owner of the sign shall secure a legal permit from the city for removal of the original sign. And
Right.
for,
And
so it
there
says
wasn't
that so you didn't issue a permit
That's correct.
to have the sign removed. That's why we don't know exactly when the sign came down. That's why we don't know when Mr. Kramer's first right to rebuild the signs kicks in, of 60-day right to re-kick in.
I have that
As I
information.
detailed out in my brief to you.
Okay,
But anyway, maybe that's getting in the weeds, I don't know. I don't know where to go with this, except to say that, as you know, the signs came down. As Mr. Kramer pointed out, with the cap of the sign cap, a sign comes down, a sign can go up. The ordinance states that it can go up on these properties, and that the permits should be issued.
And when these 3 signs were taken down, there were not 3 signs put up somewhere else.
That's correct.
okay, go ahead. Yep, another question.
Yes, when I look at these pictures that I have, and I look at the bottom photo, it's not the Sheboygan Area Teachers Credit Union or whatever that is,
It's
I'm
the one
sorry.
way in the distance.
It's this one at the
No.
edge?
It's this back here.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Ah,
Just flicking on the
Okay.
board here now.
There was no way I could get it.
okay,
It was just Google Earth, and it was just trying to
not
show
close enough.
that the boards were there in the past.
okay. That covers my question.
So I think, when the board makes decisions on this, you may want to go through each item individually with
And
a
make
motion, and make
yes.
a motion, just so you
Yeah.
are doing that.
Sure, no problem. Okay, so we'll go ahead and address then item 3.4, the one that we were initially discussing.
Now, is that the one with the neighbor or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Was it 13th in Pennsylvania?
Item 3.4 with North 13th in Pennsylvania, which is item 3.4 is the one with Mr. Lakin.
Okay.
And you don't object to that sign going up, you just want it to be within the terms that you had agreed upon when you acquired the property? Sure. Okay.
Sure.
And that easement should follow that, actually, parcel and that property with that deed. So it does follow that automatically, but we would make sure that we note that specifically. Okay, so I will make a motion for 3.4, which is on North 13th Street in Pennsylvania, to be approved based on the easement that is already agreed upon between parties of the sign. Trying to picture how I want this written.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve with that stipulation. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay, we have a second. So we have a motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion?
I have a question about this motion and this sign. The previous sign that was there was taken down, we don't know when or by whom.
We know it was taken down by Lamar in 220 sometime.
Okay, so it was taken down by Lamar without the permit,
Correct.
Right.
and the permit was not issued by the city attorney as required.
By the City Development Department.
City development.
That's correct.
So does this motion vacate the requirement of the city, or does it eliminate any possibility of suit from somebody concerning this site?
I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, part of the reason why we're here today is, I guess, that's a distinct possibility if the signs aren't approved.
Aha, okay, thank you.
Okay, all right, so we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion?
I call the question.
All right, hearing it, thank you, sir. Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, so 3.4 is passed. Moving to item 3.5, same scenario, Sign Me Up of Wisconsin LLC is appealing the zoning administrator decision concerning installation of the new billboard on parcel 5928-1600375, which is located approximately at North 18th Street and Superior Avenue.
I would like to make a motion on 3.5 on North 18th Street and Superior Avenue that the new billboard be allowed to go up.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion on item 3.5? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye. Motion for 3.5 is passed. 3.6, Sign Me Up of Wisconsin LLC is appealing the zoning administrator decision concerning installation of new billboards on parcel number 5928-1506865, which is located approximately at 1723 Indiana Avenue. Do we have a motion to approve?
So I'd like to make a motion on 3.6, address 1723 Indiana Avenue, that a new billboard can be installed.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
I second it.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion on item 3.6? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, chair votes aye, so item 3.6 has been approved. And that's it.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it. We don't have anything else. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? I don't think we have anything
Any
else.
more business to discuss, sir?
Not that I'm looking
I
at.
make a motion that we adjourn.
We have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion to adjourn. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. All right.